Thank you so much, General McNeil. And thank you for raising a really important issue that often gets lost in the debate over how to resolve a nuclear Iran and the threat of a nuclear Iran. It seems, General, as though the only debate has been a military solution, and how important it is to hear your military perspective, especially as it relates to the importance of a political opposition within Iran that can help bring the stability, a democratic process going forward for not only the future of Iran, but the future of the region. You rightly point out with concern the fractionalization and the situation that's devolving in Syria, which, by the way, is being fueled thanks to the Iranian guards that have been sent by the mullahs in Tehran to help keep Bashar Assad in power. But you rightly underscore the importance of having a political solution. And in having a political solution, it brings us to the point that we're making today. And that point is, when is the United States going to unshackle the power of the international Iranian diaspora, the most organized political opposition to the mullahs in Tehran? And the answer to that is, once the State Department delists the MEK, we can have the kind of political opposition that can provide an alternative to a military power. So, for all, especially who are concerned about making sure that we exhaust, General, every option at our disposal before we commit any more young Americans' lives to that region of the world, that we ought to exhaust. That ought to be the priority in the United States, to exhaust all political options. But unfortunately, we cannot exhaust all political options while the U.S. Department of State continues to maintain a political listing that ties the hands behind the main opposition group, the most organized and well-financed opposition group to the mullahs in Tehran. So this is today not only about international security. It's not only about the humanitarian concerns. It's about getting to a political solution as opposed to a military solution. And as I said at the very outset of today's meeting, all of these have the same answer, and that is delist the MEK and you'll solve the political solution, the humanitarian solution, and the geostrategic solution of national security. That is why we must delist the MEK. But I want to close by recognizing what Governor Ritter said, and that is, ultimately, at the end of the day, we can talk about this as a political, humanitarian, strategic issue. But for many of you, it's an even more personal issue than that, because it's your family members who are in Camp Ashraf and Camp Liberty. It's your sisters and brothers, mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, and children whose lives hang in the balance. So you can have all of us up here talk about these as issues, but to you, they're your family's lives. To you, this is much more of a life and death situation. You advocate in the halls of Congress. We can proposed various solutions, but at the end of the day, the end result for you is whether you can successfully see the reunification with your family members without any more harm being done to them. And so I think it's appropriate that we conclude today's meeting by once again calling on our attention to be focused on the residents of Ashraf and Liberty and the plight that they are facing when they are going into a camp called Liberty, which has been anything but a camp of liberty. It's been a camp of prison. And last week we heard once again one of the top UN officials say that there was a cover-up from the UN disguising the fact that this liberty was not suitable for human dwelling. So as the sixth convoy leaves, and because of the leadership and goodwill gesture of Madam Rajavi, it's appropriate that we call on the Iraqi government, that we call on the United Nations and Mr. Kobler to finally do the right thing, and that's honor the humanitarian issues that have been pointed out in the Memorandum of Understanding. Not because it's political, not because it's legal, not only because it's moral, but because we've got innocent people whose lives hang in the balance. And you have an opportunity to make sure that this can happen peacefully without the loss of life. And that should be all of our number one priority. So, as we conclude today's event, let us take all the suggestions that have been made by the panelists while keeping in mind that they're very real people whose lives are on the line. And let us once again commit to them that our country will do what we can to make sure that the instruments of our government follow the dictates of our United States Constitution and the spirit of liberty and democracy, which is the founding principles of our party, whether you be Democrat or Republican, because it's the United States of America that we all represent. It's the hope of freedom that we want not only for our own people, but we want for all people, because these are universal values, and they need to be respected. And we call on all those who represent the United States government to live up to what it means to be part of the United States. Honor your commitments and make sure that we resolve this situation peacefully. And as General Jim Jones said at the outset, if we do this, we can peacefully resettle all the refugees of Camp Liberty, because they will be unimpeded by these political issues like listing, which threaten their lives because of the atmosphere that they create. I once again want to thank all of those who are part of this effort, say that I am honored, as my colleagues have just said themselves, to be part of this historic struggle, because it is a struggle for the right over the might. Thank you very much.